Hello, everybody. So what an incredible day in the market. Huge moves on so many of this channel's favorite stocks. Fear is a way to make money. That's my main point in this video. And what do we know today? What do we see? Well, the NASDAQ, compared to where it opened, finished the day 1.72% higher, continuing in after hours compared to what it opened the day at. The day was characterized by stocks opening really low and then just going up. Why? Because early during the day we had Mexico, the Mexican president, making a statement. 10,000 troops will be deployed at the border. The tariffs are paused. And what did we get early in after hour? Canada did the same decisions. 10,000 troops. Tariffs are paused. So there is no more tariffs for 1 month, quote unquote. This may be a permanent thing, this may not be. I don't know what kind of deal is going to be struck. All I know is that we could see more movement on China. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be a pause on China. And one of the main takeaways is when this happens to the EU, when you get an overnight or a Friday evening tweet or something like that, just know that this is a negotiation tactic. This is how Trump works. I'll get to that at the end of the video, but this is a negotiation tactic. What a day we had today. We had beautiful opportunities. So, for example, yesterday night, I was so pleased. I posted this on Patreon because thanks to Robinhood overnight market prices, I believe Robinhood is a major edge. Moved to this broker for a little bit of stocks about 6 months ago. It's great because you can get the overnight 24 hours, and it's really good because you can buy the prices that you can't buy with other brokers sometimes, and because they have overnight prices. Anyways, I was able to snag MicroStrategy at $295. Now it's $352. So think about that, a 20% difference, a 20% delta between the beginning of the day, meaning the day in Europe, right? It was late at night here in Texas. So from 295 to 352 in 15 hours. The volatility is just insane on this, and I'm thankful to Robinhood for allowing these overnight market prices. Many brokers don't allow that, and so this is good to me. Was really pleased to get some shares at $295. Who knows where MicroStrategy is going to be within the next few days? We have earnings on Wednesday. I can't wait, but who knows? Nobody really knows. The point is, this thing is volatile, and I think it may make sense to wait for these volatile moments to add to a stock like MicroStrategy. No financial advice ever on this channel, of course. And Bitcoin was the same way. Bitcoin rebounded so nicely compared to the low, and my thought on this is, and I highlighted that in my video yesterday, it's a risk-off asset, and so risk-on, sorry, it's a risk-on asset. So whenever there's some fear, Bitcoin is going to sell off, but because it is so easy to sell, it's gonna be sold off before anything, right? And so that's how I think a lot of market participants were like, okay, well, tech stocks is gonna bleed. Tech stocks are gonna be in the red because Bitcoin took this way. Bitcoin is like this 12, 18, 24, 32 hour early indicator of what's going to happen in the broad indices, it seems to me. And so of course it's up sharply now, and is tomorrow going to be a green day? I don't know. Nobody really knows what kind of announcements are going to get in the news, but what I know is that volatility is going to remain, and if volatility to the downside happens, I think it may be a buying opportunity. No financial advice, of course. This is just for me. I'm just documenting my journey in investing. Let's talk about another stock that I like very much today, and this is e.l.f. So e.l.f., you may remember me telling me being wary of e.l.f. being hurt by tariffs because the stock had bounced back to 133. January 16, 2025 was trading at 133. And recently, over the past week, those tariff talk and tariff fears have gotten the stock to me into a buy territory, at least with what I look for and what I like. The stock is now cheaper than Oddity. If you follow my channel, I've spoken highly of Oddity in the past. e.l.f. is now cheaper in my spreadsheet. And this is because, frankly, in my view, the 10% tariff on China, remember, e.l.f., 80% of their makeup is made in China, a little less than 80%, but roughly 80%. The last time they did that was late 2018, early 2019. They handled tariff by really a mix of supplier concession, margin compression, and price increases. And my guess is that if the 10% tariffs on China were to remain, no guarantee. See what happened on Canada and Mexico. So no guarantee it's going to remain. But if it were to remain, that'd be 3%, 3%, 3%, spread among multiple people. This is not a big deal. In my view, this is a stock that more than can handle these tariffs. And you can see we've had a steep discount in this stock. This is, 2 weeks ago, it was 133. Now it's 93 for a stock, which if I look at historical performance, so after today's drop, ever since their IPO in 2016, the 17%, they did 17% average annual return. So it's roughly in line with the NASDAQ, maybe just a tad smaller than the NASDAQ. But if you look at an over period, if you go back, for example, 6 months before all of the fear of tariffs happened and the fear of a presidential election happened, they were exceeding 30%, which is now well above the NASDAQ. So to me, this stock looks very interesting to me at these levels. And of course, I provide my updates on every move I make on Patreon. We have earnings this week on this one. They have a history of beating earnings, outstanding volatility on the options on this one. If you play put options before earnings or anything like that, huge volatility. So interesting play in my view. In my view, this one has gotten too cheap. No financial advice. Another stock where this one I was tempted to write puts, because when you look at the history of beats, they've had a history of strong movements. Anyways, what a mover. Palantir is at 103 per share. And Palantir, I still have half of my original position. I was heavy into Palantir more than 2 years ago. You may remember my early videos on Palantir on this channel. And of course, Palantir, I didn't make the mistake of NVIDIA, because NVIDIA, I was also very big on NVIDIA, but then I sold everything. And then I started realizing, AI stock, they don't follow the rules that we're used to seeing. The rules of traditional financial analysis doesn't seem to apply in the same way to AI stocks, who are exponential, but really like next level exponential. The exponentiality, the winner take most, winner take all dynamics of these AI stocks, I don't think our financial spreadsheets are equipped to analyze these. And of course, Palantir looks nosebleed expensive on my spreadsheet. There's a nosebleed valuation, but yet the stock is doing very well, and which is why I've recouped my initial investment with the first half I sold. I sold much lower than this, but now my over half I'm gonna keep forever, and you bet, because I made that mistake with NVIDIA. I'm not making that mistake with Palantir, even though all of the flags tell me sell, sell, sell. I'm not making that mistake on 103. It's outstanding. Note that the revenue growth on this one is really great. The minimum threshold on my channel for revenue growth, at least it's an ideal. I'm trying to idealistically get more than 30% year-over-year revenue growth year after year, because the debasement rate is 15%. There's 15% more dollars each year than there were prior years. So I want to see a double of that. And if you get a double of that, that's a 15% real return, 15% over 5 years. That's a 2x over 5 years. I think it's a good metric in real terms, right? In face value terms, right? In dollar terms, that's more like a 4x. Anyways, the point is they reported year-over-year growth for 2024, 36%, and they're predicting 31% year-over-year revenue growth for FY 2025. So that is quite bullish. And of course, the earnings are there. The earnings look good. On this channel, I care mostly about growth. I don't care too much about earnings. I just want to see positive cash flow. I see that on Palantir. I have no worry on Palantir. Moving on to another stock that I like is Tesla. And the market has a short memory, because last week's conference call was frankly the best conference call I had heard on Tesla. And you may remember the amazing news, in my view, of robotaxi being launched in Austin in June of 2025. Surely the market should have reacted positively to that one. The market being short-term as it is, the market's focusing on headlines from CNBC. Tesla shares dropped 5% on Trump's tariff, and I must say I did not understand the price action of Tesla today. I really did not, because of course it's the most US-made car, and the US-made vehicles are sold in the US, right? So the Fremont factory, the Austin factory, they sell in the US. The Chinese factory sells in China. The German factory sells in Europe. And so I guess the market was fearful, of course, about Canadians, because Canadians love EVs, and Tesla sells its fair share of EV cars in Canada. But I don't understand why the market didn't see this, which is if the tariffs, assume the tariffs come back in a month and we get a 25% tariff, retaliatory tariff from Canada, like, are they going to put that tariff on Germany too? And in my view, they wouldn't. And so they would just ship cars from Germany to Canada. Yeah, sure, the cost of goods sold would be a little higher. It would be a little more expensive because you would have to ship the cars, but you could do that. And I don't think Canada would put a tariff 25% on Germany. So it's just a matter of shifting where the cars come from. And Tesla is a very agile company. It is able to do that. It's not like a legacy auto business that moves slow because it has, more than 500,000 employees who aren't really, up to date with agile management. Tesla is a company that moves so fast. They're entirely able to pivot and say, from now on, the cars sold in Canada, they're going to come from Germany and they're not going to be subject to the tariffs. So I don't understand why the market didn't see that. You could potentially, you would need to make changes, but you could potentially also ship cars from Shanghai, which is something that they floated this idea before. So again, I don't understand this, and I think the market has a short memory on this one, and I'm pleased to see the opportunity. I'm pleased to see the Tesla shares still under $400. Let me conclude really briefly. None of this matters right now. All of these movements was all for nothing right now, because like I said, both Canada and Mexico have agreed to the requests of Trump, and they've sent each 10,000 troops, and there's no tariffs right now. They're paused. And so in conclusion, I will tell you that things like leverage, things like exaggeration, using bluffing, right, a poker term, but I suppose you could apply that to Trump's tactic, the bluff, and also the aggressiveness. So if you ask an AI, I suggest you ask an AI and inquire of the AI about this book, The Art of the Deal, where Trump, explains, and he wrote over books like How to Get Rich, where he explains his tactics. 3 of them are relevant here, leverage, exaggeration, aggressiveness. You use that to obtain some leverage, and clearly that worked over the past 3 days. Clearly that technique of shocking, of being aggressive worked, because as you see Trudeau, this is exactly what Trump asked. Trudeau said, we're sending 10,000 frontline personnel with new chopper technology personnel, $1.3 billion border plan with Canada, and they're naming a fentanyl czar. So this is exactly what Trump asked. And so anyways, that's I guess that's the shock value of the tactic. So the main takeaway on this is, when this happens to the EU, because I think EU will probably be next. We won't know when or where and what language will be used or whatever, or Denmark because of Greenland. You may remember my former video, I've highlighted Greenland perhaps being an issue here. When that happens, let's not panic, because maybe 3 days later you have someone in Europe saying, there's no tariff at the end of the day, and it just creates insane fear, insane volatility, but at the end of the day, it seems to be in a negotiation tactic. So anyways, what a day in the market, what a crazy day. This was not investment advice, this was not financial advice, this is just entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.